The Galactic Council chamber had never been so quiet. Hundreds of alien leaders sat in their floating seats, their many eyes fixed on the massive star map before them. Blue lights flickered across the room as reports continued to arrive, each one worse than the last. Humanity was moving. For decades, humans had been considered weak, slow to unite, easy to control. The Council had watched them grow, fight among themselves, and spread across their small corner of the galaxy. When the humans began building fleets and refusing Council laws, the leaders agreed on one final solution: eradication. The vote had been quick. No debate, no regret. Human space was to be erased. But now, only 6 cycles later, the Council screen showed something impossible. Human war fleets were leaving their systems in perfect formation, not scattered, not panicked, organized, silent, purposeful. A tall, insect-like delegate broke the silence. "They should be burning by now," another voice replied, shaking. "They are not defending. They are advancing." On the central display, dozens of red markers appeared: human ships crossing borders that had never been crossed before, borders protected by ancient empires, borders that no one challenged. A human message suddenly cut through the chamber's systems. It was short. No threats, no anger. "You chose extinction. We accepted." Some council members tried to speak, others tried to flee. None succeeded. The human fleets did not slow down. They did not ask for peace. They did not send demands. Every ship moved with calm precision, as if this war had been planned long ago. For the first time in galactic history, the Council understood a terrible truth. They had not started a war. They had awakened one. The first worlds to fall were not human targets of revenge. They were Council strongholds. Human fleets entered defended systems without warning. Ancient defense stations powered up, releasing waves of energy meant to stop any invasion. The weapons had ended countless wars before. This time, they barely slowed the humans. Human ships did not rush forward. They moved in layers. The first line absorbed the attacks. The second line adjusted. The third line fired. Council sensors struggled to understand what they were seeing. Human weapons changed frequency mid-flight. Shields failed. Stations went dark. One by one, the symbols on the star maps vanished. Across the galaxy, Council commanders demanded answers. None came. On the human command ships, there were no cheers, no speeches, only quiet voices and steady orders. The humans did not fight with rage. They fought with memory. They remembered the vote. On a distant Council world, cities looked up. As human vessels filled the sky, emergency messages played in every language, calling for surrender. The humans responded with silence. Dropships descended with perfect timing, cutting power grids before alarms could finish sounding. Council soldiers tried to resist. They had better numbers, older weapons, stronger armor. None of it mattered. Humans adapted faster. Every failed Council tactic was recorded, shared, and countered within minutes. Every battlefield made the humans stronger. The Council had planned to erase humanity in one strike. Humanity was dismantling the Council piece by piece. In the Grand Chamber, panic spread. Leaders shouted over one another. Some demanded peace talks. Others ordered full mobilization. Then another message arrived from human space. "We are not invading," the message said. "We are correcting." The chamber fell silent again. The Council had believed humans would beg when threatened with extinction. Instead, they had prepared. They had waited, and now they were moving with purpose. The war was no longer about survival. It was about judgment, and humanity had already decided the verdict. Fear spread faster than the human fleets. Council worlds that had once laughed at human warnings now closed their borders. Trade routes collapsed. Defense lines were rushed into place, built by species that had not fought a real war in centuries. They trusted old rules, old tactics, old power. Humans broke all of them in one system. A Council armada waited in perfect formation, confident in its size. When the humans arrived, they did not meet them head-on. They vanished. Moments later, human ships reappeared inside the formation. Council sensors failed. Commands arrived late. Human weapons struck engines, then command ships, then supply carriers. The armada collapsed into chaos within minutes. Some ships tried to flee. Human interceptors followed without mercy. Every battle followed the same pattern. Humans studied. Humans learned. Humans adapted. Captured Council officers were shocked by what they saw. Human soldiers did not celebrate victory. They did not insult the defeated. They simply moved on to the next objective, as if this war had a strict schedule. On human worlds, factories ran without pause. Civilians worked beside machines, repairing ships and building new ones. There was fear, but also focus. Humanity had accepted a single truth. Survival was no longer enough. They had to make sure this never happened again. Deep within council space, emergency meetings failed to stop the collapse. Messages sent to ancient allies returned unanswered. Many had already fallen. Others were preparing to surrender before the humans arrived. A senior council leader whispered what no one wanted to say. They are not fighting like a young species. Another answered quietly, they are fighting like one that remembers being hunted. As human fleets pushed deeper, they ignored planets that surrendered early. But worlds that resisted paid a heavy price. Defense networks were erased. Military centers vanished from orbit. Still, humanity did not target civilians. That confused the council more than the destruction. Humans were not seeking chaos. They were sending a message. The council had voted to end humanity forever. Humanity was now rewriting the rules of the galaxy one system at a time, and the council was running out of places to hide. The Galactic Council began to break apart. Entire member species withdrew from emergency channels, choosing silence over loyalty. Some tried to erase their voting records. Others destroyed data, archives, hoping the humans would never learn who supported the Extinction Order. They were too late. Human intelligence units had already uncovered the vote. Every name, every world, every signature that agreed humanity should be wiped out. Human fleets changed direction. Worlds that had stayed neutral were bypassed. Worlds that had voted for extinction were marked. On one such planet, the sky burned as human ships entered orbit. Military bases were disabled in seconds. Command towers collapsed without warning. Yet cities below remained untouched. Power grids failed. Communication died. The planet was left blind and helpless. A message echoed across the world. Your leaders chose this. Council officials were captured alive and transported off-world. For the first time, humans were not only destroying, they were collecting. Across the galaxy, whispers spread among the council races. Humans were building something, a place where captured leaders were being taken. No one knew what happened there, only that none had returned. Some council species tried to surrender fully, offering technology, territory, even their own leaders. Humanity accepted nothing. The vote could not be undone. On the human flagship, senior commanders reviewed the growing list of captured council members. There was no celebration, only grim silence. This war was not about victory anymore. It was about accountability. A young officer asked the question many feared. When does this end? The commander answered calmly, when the galaxy learns the cost of deciding another species does not deserve to exist. As human fleets closed in on the council's core worlds, panic reached levels unseen in galactic history. Ancient powers that once ruled entire sectors now begged for negotiations. Humanity ignored them. The council had once believed humans were divided, emotional, and easy to control. They had mistaken restraint for weakness. Now, facing a united humanity with a single purpose, the council realized the truth. This was not a rebellion. This was a reckoning. The council's core worlds had always been untouchable. Massive defense rings surrounded them. Ancient fleets waited in deep space. These systems were symbols of power, meant to remind the galaxy who ruled it. For centuries, no enemy had crossed their borders. Humanity crossed them in silence. Instead of one massive attack, human fleets arrived in waves, striking communication hubs first. Council command structures collapsed within minutes. Orders conflicted. Fleets moved without coordination. Confusion spread faster than fear. Some council admirals attempted a final stand. They gathered everything they had left and charged the human lines. It ended quickly. Human ships adjusted formations, targeting engines and reactors with calm accuracy. The once proud fleets became drifting wrecks. On the core worlds below, leaders watched the skies change color as human vessels filled orbit. Emergency broadcasts repeated calls for peace, apologies, and regret. Human systems recorded every message. None were answered. Human ground teams deployed only where needed. Government centers were secured. Military research sites were seized. The symbols of council authority were dismantled piece by piece. The people were left alive, confused, and powerless. Captured council leaders were brought together at last, stripped of rank and titles. They were forced to face one another. Many avoided eye contact. Others shouted blame. A single human representative addressed them. You judged us without knowing us. You voted without facing the cost. Today, you will witness it. Across the galaxy, the remaining council worlds fell silent. No fleets moved. No weapons fired. Everyone was watching. Humanity did not destroy the council's homeworlds. They did something worse. They ended the council itself. Every governing system was erased. Trade authority dissolved. Military command disbanded. The galaxy woke up without its rulers. Fear spread, but also understanding. Humanity was not claiming the throne. They were removing it. And with the council gone, one final question remained. In every system, what would humanity do next? The galaxy did not celebrate. Without the council, old borders meant nothing. Long-held rules vanished overnight. Some worlds prepared for chaos. Others feared humanity would now rule in its place, becoming the very power they had destroyed. Human fleets remained in orbit, but they did not advance. Instead, a message was broadcast across every known channel. It was translated into thousands of languages and repeated without emotion. The council is ended. Humanity will not replace it. Confusion followed. Human ships began withdrawing from conquered systems. Military control was handed back to local leaders who had not supported the extinction vote. Trade routes were reopened. Communication networks were repaired. Humanity helped rebuild what had been damaged during the war. This confused the galaxy more than the war itself. On human worlds, debates were short. The decision had already been made long before the first fleet moved. Humanity would not rule through fear. They knew too well where that path ended. Captured council leaders were brought to a final location, not a prison, not an execution site, a court. For the first time in galactic history, leaders were forced to answer for their actions before the entire galaxy. Evidence of the extinction vote was shown, records, voices, faces. No lies remained hidden. Some leaders begged, some denied, some stayed silent. The judgment was clear. They would live, but they would never rule again. Their names were erased from history. Their species stripped of power for a generation. Their worlds placed under observation. Not occupation, humanity wanted the galaxy to remember, not fear. As fleets returned home, soldiers finally rested. The war had ended, but its lesson was just beginning to spread. Species across the stars began rewriting laws, adding one rule above all others. No vote for extinction would ever be allowed again. Humanity watched quietly. They had not won a war. They had changed the future. Only one thing remained unfinished. One final choice that would decide how the galaxy moved forward, and humanity was ready to make it. The final human fleet gathered at the edge of known space. It did not face an enemy. It faced the galaxy. A last message was sent, not as a threat, not as a warning, but as a record. It told the full story of humanity, their early wars, their mistakes, their fear. And the moment they learned they had been voted for extinction without being heard. We were not special, the message said. We were young, we were divided, and we were judged unworthy of survival. Then the message changed. We chose not to answer extinction with extinction. Humanity announced the creation of a new galactic agreement. No rulers, no permanent council. Every species, large or small, would have the right to speak. Decisions would require defense, proof, and consequence. No hidden votes, no silent executions. Any species that tried to erase another would face the combined response of all, not led by humans, but joined by them. The galaxy listened. Some species accepted immediately, others hesitated. A few refused and withdrew into isolation. Humanity did not chase them. Fear could not build a future. Over time, trade returned. New alliances formed. Worlds once ignored were finally heard. The scars of war remained, but they became reminders, not wounds. On Earth, the war was remembered. Quietly, there were no statues of conquest, no songs of destruction, only records of what happened when survival was taken for granted. Humanity returned to exploration, science, and growth, but they were no longer naive. The galaxy knew it too. Humanity was not a conqueror, not a ruler, not a monster. They were a warning written into history. Judge carefully, but wisely, and never assume silence means weakness, because once the galaxy voted for humanity's extinction, and humanity answered by ensuring no one else would ever face the same choice again.